I don't kick it with or work with or take money from people who don't value me. If you don't value me, then I have no reason to be in your space. And for a lot of investors, I talked about this the other day, I typically don't raise a lot of money from white investors specifically because most of them don't find the value in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I have to convince them that there's even a market, that there's enough Black people to sell haircare products to.
Right.
Even though Africa has 55 countries, Nigeria alone has 200 million Black people.
Right.
South Africa has 70 million Black people.
Right.
In the United States, they're like, oh, but you're niche, you're small, your audience is Black. And when I talk to Black people or Black investors, they're more like, okay, well, what's the valuation? They know there's a market. They know that we can make money. They're worried I might sell too soon. You know what I'm saying? That's their concern. It's like, oh, we know there's an opportunity. And so I don't take money from, don't hang around, and don't be with people who just don't know my value. And so it was easier to say no to Robert Herjavec when I knew he didn't know the value.
Ghetto. Good idea. Now we buying merch.
That's ghetto.
Payment miss.
Ooh, the ghetto.
Say she quit.
Ooh, the ghetto.
Late on your rent.
Rent is ghetto.
New event.
Ooh, the ghetto.
Invoice in.
That ain't ghetto.
Money spent.
Oh, that's ghetto. Hold on. It's kind of ghetto being a CEO. Welcome back to another episode of the Ghetto CEO Podcast. I am so excited that you guys are here because a lot of times we learn all the things. We learn marketing, we learn operations, but we don't learn how to be a CEO. Like, nobody teaches us, like, the behind the scenes, the horror stories, how we get sued, like, all the extra stuff around being an entrepreneur. And I literally think that we need to know these things going in so we can prepare. You only can prepare what you're aware of. So here on the Ghetto CEO Podcast, we really talk about the raw, unfiltered, behind the scenes truth of what actually happens. And I'm so excited that you are here. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, leave us a comment or something so we know that you love it here, right? Also, leave us a review on all your podcast channels. But this next guest I have is literally the epitome of what a CEO is. And sometimes we're thinking in our business that we are, still trying to get to 6 figures, or we might be at 7, but let me tell you, this is an 8-figure CEO. I don't even think we have enough space in the studio for all of this energy that you guys are about to get. This is someone that has raised $1 million, millions of dollars, is an 8-figure plus CEO. And I'm just so excited for you guys to meet her. Welcome to the Ghetto CEO Show, Kim Lewis. First of all, I love you, Kim. I don't feel like but you are the ish. You're tight as fuck. Okay, so tell them who is Kim Lewis. Why? I don't know why they don't know you, but who is Kim Lewis?
I'm Kim Lewis, CEO and co-founder of Curlmix, where we help you master your curls in 21 days, or our product is free via store credit.
Yes. Okay, so Kim, this isn't new to you. Sets and set life. You've been on Shark Tank, on Who Wants It, all the things. So tell them a little bit of how you got started.
Crowdfunding started as a do-it-yourself box for curly hair. So think Blue Apron, but for hair. Our customers loved one box in particular, which is our flaxseed gel. And so we pivoted our business in 2018 to focus solely on the flaxseed gel and a 4-step system to help you get this hairstyle. Okay. So while our products do work for all kinds of hair types, the person who wants to snatch it out of my hand before I can finish telling them what we do is a Black woman over 40, because she wants to wear the same hairstyle to her board meeting, to her job, to her kid's soccer game, to her date night, her girls' night. And so that's who we serve.
Yes. Okay. So tell them how did you get to this place? Because you are an 8-figure CEO. Y'all did 10 million last year?
Yes, we did.
Period. It's the Black women making money for me. That's a favorite sport I like to watch.
Right. That's the only sport I watch.
So how do we get here to this $10 million company?
I'm a hustler. There's nothing I can't figure out.
Yeah.
And of course with my team, I've never done it by myself, but we started with, I mentioned the DIY boxes. We did that for 2 years. And then at some point the margins didn't make sense.
So you was in the kitchen cooking.
Yeah. So literally, we were doing the boxes, and I knew I needed to pivot because the margins on the boxes are 30%. But if I had done a hair care product, it would have been 80%. And so then I knew, I was like, even if I could scale this, I shouldn't, because I'm literally going to lose money on it.
Right.
And so I was 7 months pregnant, in my kitchen making 50 different batches of flaxseed gel. And so I could figure out something that would be stable, because I went to manufacturers, like 3 different ones, and they all said no. And I was just like, okay. And then my advisor was like, figure it out. I was like, that's your advice? I got an advisor. I thought you were going to have something, you know, profound to tell me. And it was like, no. And it was like, figure it out. And so I figured it out. And at the time, I think the most we'd ever done was like 15 to 17K a month in sales. And then we launched the flaxseed gel to our audience, and we literally sold hundreds in a matter of hours.
Wow.
And this was year like 4 or 5 in entrepreneurship, you know? And I was like, oh, this is it. So we literally tossed out 6 months of boxes that we had planned, photo shoots, recipes, everything. Like we were like, and pivoted January 1, 2018. That first month we did about 3,000 in sales. That second month, 8,000. I was like, dang, if we can get back to like 15,000, we'll be back at our best month ever. Ended up doing 30,000. Hadn't spent $1 on Facebook ads, just revenue sharing with like micro influencers and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what we need to be doing. So I convinced my husband to quit his job, and he was working in tech at the time, making a couple $100,000. I was like, come work for the business. And he was like, you got 6 months. You can't pay the mortgage in 6 months. I'm going back to work. And that year we made $1 million. And with a baby on my hip. This is in 2018.
You made your first $1 million in 2018.
Yes. And then in 2019, we were on Shark Tank. Yes. And so that's why, so we got an offer from Robert Herjavec for $400,000 for 20% equity stake in the business, but we were literally going to make $1 million that year. So it was like a bad deal. And he knew nothing about hair. So we ended up having to turn it down.
The fact that, so it's so funny now, right? Because that's literally your job in the company, is to go acquire funds, right? Like go and make money. But you literally had somebody like, here's $400,000. Most people would not be like, yeah, you can keep that. Take your money. You know? So like, what was your mindset in that time frame to be like, nah, keep your money, son?
I think when we were going on the show, it was our first month hitting somewhere around like $150,000, $200,000. And I just saw how fast like you could get it and you could spend it. And so it's like, as much as I was excited about a $400,000 offer, I knew I could go to an investor who would write me $1 million check for at least a $6 or $7 million valuation. And Robert was only doing a $2 million valuation. And I was just like, this is, you know, you gotta, what is it? Short-term sacrifice for long-term gain.
Facts.
And I knew that all too well. And I was like, I don't want to regret this decision. I don't want to just do something for TV. That's not something that I actually believe in, or something I would actually do or be proud of going home. Because I don't like doing stuff I'm not going to be proud of at the end of the day, or stuff I can't defend and be like, well, I did it, you know? And people go on Shark Tank and are happy to do that. And I was just like, that's not going to be my story. So whatever we're going to do in the show is going to be legit and real. And
I think one thing that also helped is you wasn't in the season of desperation. Like you had just made $150,000, $200,000, and you like, this is nothing, chump change. I don't need your money, right? Like, it's like, I need $1 million checks. And I think that if for somebody else, because somebody else is like listening to this right now and they're like, I need $400K. Like right now, you can have 70% of this go, you know? But like when you in a season of desperation, you like do whatever.
You know, I don't kick it with or work with or take money from people who don't value me. If you don't value me, then I have no reason to be in your space. And for a lot of investors, you know, I talked about this the other day, I typically don't raise a lot of money from white investors, specifically because most of them don't find the value in what I'm doing. I have to convince them that there's even a market, that there's enough Black people to sell hair care products to. Even though Africa has 55 countries, Nigeria alone has 200 million Black people. South Africa has 70 million Black people. In the United States, they're like, oh, but you're niche, you're small, you know, your audience is Black. And when I talk to Black people or Black investors, they're more like, okay, well, what's the valuation? You know, they know there's a market. They know that we can make money. They're worried I might sell too soon. You know what I'm saying? That's their concern. It's like, oh, we know there's an opportunity. And so I don't take money from, don't hang around, and don't be with people who just don't know my value. And so it was easier to say no to Robert Herjavec when I knew he didn't know the value.
You know, I think that, okay, so we're going to go back a little bit and explain like your business model too. But I think that that's good because sometimes when we think of, and I can say even for myself, right? When I think about raising money, when I think about venture capitalism, like I immediately think about Caucasian people. And I don't necessarily, and I would say, I have not always had the best experience with Caucasian people.
Okay.
And so when I say, like, I just don't kind of like, except Dex, like Dex is not, like, you know what I mean? But sometimes when you go in that space, they don't understand. And I hate explaining myself, just period, right? And so I think like immediately when people think about like raising money and like investors or whatever, you immediately think like you have to like go to the white man. You know what I'm saying? So like, how did you even like, you know, I'm not going to do that because the black investors are very limited. Like, it's not like it's a plethora. I don't know. Is it? Like, is it a lot of black investors out there?
There are about 10 black VCs who raised over $100 million for their fund.
Okay.
But that pales in comparison to the thousands of white folks who have probably raised over $100 million for their fund. So, you know, it's definitely limited.
Yeah.
But because there's so few, you know who they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're accessible. You know, it's possible. It's not to say that I have not taken money from white people. It's not that I am against having white investors.
Yeah.
I want the right white investors.
You just need to know the mission and be aligned.
I need to not be proving my worth to you as a person. You know, we need to be like discussing the business and the business proposition and not like, I really just don't feel like you know what I mean? Like, that's what I look for.
No, that makes sense because it's like, we can't even get past this part because I got to prove that.
So, you know, so I'll give you an example. So my actual first like big check, I turned down Robert and ended up getting, Robert was trying to give me like a $2 million valuation. Jeff Weiner, former CEO of LinkedIn, basically called me up and was like, I want to invest $1 million in your company.
From Shark Tank. He's seen you on Shark Tank.
He saw me on Shark Tank. Well, technically, my first intro to him was through a black woman.
Okay.
Arlen Hamilton from Backstage Capital, who wrote me my very first check for $25K before anybody believed in anything. She wrote me the $25K check when I was doing the DIY boxes.
Okay.
Because she just saw something in me and Tim and was just like, I want to bet on y'all.
Yeah.
And so she's my shero. She's invested in every round that we've had. But she introduced me to his partner, his investment partner. And then Jeff, after he saw us on the show, called me up, was like, hey, I want to invest $1 million. And he was like, if we keep investing in people who look like me, it's not going to reflect what the actual world is going to look like in 50 years, you know, or looks like today. And so it's like, I'll take money from white investors. Exactly. The right white investors.
Yeah.
The ones who know my value and my worth.
Yeah. And so, okay, so let's go back a little bit, right? Because I know we kind of jumped in. Explain to them your business model a little bit.
So we are a direct-to-consumer e-commerce business. We get 10 million online, mostly our .com and some Amazon. And we literally have a 4-step system, a shampoo, conditioner, moisturizer, and gel to help you get a great wash and go, like the one I'm wearing right now.
And you actually fund your business by being able to raise money. Like, how does that work?
So first we had to make $1 million before I could raise $1 million. So
interesting. And that's good to know because somebody's sitting there like, I ain't got no money. I could just go ask somebody for $1 million check. So you have to make your $1 million before people even was like, let me give you some money.
I know I'm a black woman.
Yeah.
You know, like I know that you feel like, oh, you're taking a risk, you know, investing in me. So I knew I was going to get no money unless I was making some.
Yeah.
But also, this is why you go work in corporate. This is why you build good credit so you can use it to fund your business. And that's exactly what we did. I think we amassed like $100K in credit card debt.
Yeah.
That being a CEO is ghetto.
But this is before, like, when? At what stage was the $100K in credit card?
Girl, it was several credit cards. You know what I mean? One credit card.
Right.
It was like, you know, and this was after winning $100K on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you know? But, you know, I married up.
Period. Okay. Listen. Okay. So now you actually raise money to be, so what do you, like, how does this work? You know, somebody's like, what is
raising money?
Yeah, like somebody's just giving out checks. Like what? Because sign me up.
Yeah. Okay. So raising money, a lot of people, if you're an operator, you don't actually want to go to the networking events and talk to people and explain your business and say the same thing until you're blue in the face 100 times. And that is essentially fundraising. Like you have to know your numbers. So if you're interested in fundraising, I would read Venture Deals by Brad Feld.
Okay.
It's like a venture Bible. You'll learn all the terminology. It's very thick. It's very difficult because it's like, I don't know these terms.
Right.
But you're going to read it 2 or 3 times if you really want to raise money, right?
Right.
Because otherwise you're going to be signing contracts that you don't know what they mean.
Right.
So this is the way you know what they mean. So I read that. I also read Angel by Jason Calacanis.
Okay.
He was an early investor in like Thumbtack and Uber and StyleSeat. But he basically talks about investing from the angel perspective, being an angel investor. And if you read that as a founder, then you'll know what people are looking for in your business.
Right.
Don't read it from the founder perspective. Don't read other books about that are directed towards founders. Read the books that are directed towards investors so you can know what not to say. Exactly.
Yes.
So that was what I was doing. I did that for maybe like 12 months while I was building the business. And I was going to all the free accelerators and incubators in my community. So 1871 in Chicago. How I met Arlen, actually. I saw like a Facebook post for like Black and Brown founders. It was like, the event was like $40. And it was going to have Danielle Leslie, Tara Reid, Arlen Hamilton, and like Del from Code 2040 in the basement of some tech accelerator. And this is back in 2017. This was Arlen's very first speaking event. Nobody knew who she was.
Right.
Danielle Leslie was doing her tasty content story. She's not doing that no more. She's like kind of pivoted. She has a new vibe now. Tara Reid was asked without code, but she was still just kind of getting off her app that she had built.
Right.
And I actually went to see Tara and Danielle. I didn't even know Arlen at the time. And I was just like, well, I'm going to just book my flight to Cali. I don't know what I'm going to experience. You know, I signed up for this Women in STEM program here in Chicago. And I was just trying to get access to networks and people and money and things that I did not have access to.
Right.
I grew up poor. My mom was
But was that your first mindset? Like, I'm going to raise money for this company? Because most people just like, I'm just going to hustle until I hustle.
I mean, I did that. I did the 5 years of hustling and getting nowhere. I did the expos where I spent 12-hour days on my feet, only making a couple $1,000s and probably losing money because the booth space itself was like $1,500.
Right.
I did the let me try to build my own app or whatever and be a tech founder. I did the let me sign up for all these pitch competitions and not win any of them. And I was just like, okay, this isn't working. And I actually thought about going to get like my MBA. I was like, I just don't know enough about business. Maybe I'll learn it in school.
Yeah.
And then I remember Tim telling me like, babe, like, if you're good enough, you do it, they'll invite you to teach it. Like, you don't have to go to school for this.
And you was just at the school, okay?
Yes, I was just at, I spoke at Kellogg for like the 4th time. And then my friend invited me to Yale, and I might be speaking at MIT. So, you know, it was just it was a huge lesson. So I ended up flying to Cali. So I'm sorry, I'm telling this story out of place. I ended up flying to Cali in this basement. The giveaway was $5,000 in Stripe credits. So, can you imagine?
Right.
Stripe just giving you $5,000. And then that's when we met Arlen. And that's when she's like, I think I like what you guys are doing. You guys are really hustling. You're out here figuring it out. We're making like $15K a month at the time.
Yeah.
And she was like, I think I want to invest in you guys. And I don't have the money today, but I will in 6 months. And that's when I met my advisor and her community and all this other stuff. And who would have known, you know, 5-6 years later, I would have invested hundreds of thousands in my company by now, you know, and that she would have introduced me to people who could invest millions, who did invest millions.
Right.
So I just think, I really believe in creating your own opportunities. And no, I didn't know I wanted to raise money. I just knew who had access to money and power, and I was going to be in that room.
I love that. Do you completely feel like your content is trash? Like, you really could take your brand to the next level if you could really figure out how to do marketing, how not to spend all your time online, how to really systemize your social media and get your followers off of social media and into your bank account? Well, listen, I want to give you a free 15-minute content audit with myself and my team. And so we can really dive into your social media page. We can really dive into what you're already doing with marketing, and we can see what gaps you already have. Now, listen, I want to show you how you can work with us and we can help you fill in these gaps, but you may get off the call and you may feel completely full and you may not need us. Completely fine with me. So what I want you to do is click the link below, book a call with us so we can see if we can work together this year or if you got everything that you need to go to the next level. Let's go. And so it's just like, you kept failing and you just figured it out. Like, I just gotta keep going, just keep pushing. So now, how much have you raised so far? Like, when did you start raising and how much have you raised?
I raised about $6 million.
Yes.
1.2 in my seed round, which seed is like your first round. People usually call it like pre-seed, seed, Series A, Series B. But, you know, people get creative. Series C plus. You can call it whatever. Silver seed, purple seed, you know, like you call it whatever you want. And then I did $4.5 million in equity crowdfunding. So I got tired of people telling me that I didn't grow enough. So we went from like 1 to 5 million in revenue. Okay. And we're not distributed in like a Sephora or a Walmart or a Target. So for me, I'm like 1 to 5 million on D2C in 1 year is dope, right? Yeah. Many investors are like, we want to see more. We want to see more. And I was like, what more do you want to see? So then I remember, okay, well, you know what? Let me get profitable. I ended up losing a lot less money and I still grew. We got to 6 million in revenue the next year. And then they were like, oh, but you were flat. And I was like, you mother, no.
But it's like, it's never good enough.
It's never good enough. And I remember thinking, okay, the regulation for crowdfunding changed to allow you to raise 1 million to 5 million. I was like, so now this is interesting. Right. I always wanted my community to own a piece of the company because if there was ever a liquidity event or ever an acquisition, I'm like, they should get some money too. Like they were the ones who helped build the brand. Yeah. And most consumers get nothing in a sale. Right. And I remember them raising the limit from 1 to 5. And I was like, this might be my chance. I was like, I got 100,000 customers. I was like, I could raise money for my own community instead of depending on these VCs who don't know my worth. Right. And that's when we launched the equity crowdfunding campaign, did the 4.5 million.
That's wild. Congratulations.
Thank you, my dear.
Kim, you're like 30 years old. 31, right?
Yes, I'm 31.
How are you doing all of this? Like, this is like next level, like, this is just your first life. Like, this is, you know what I mean? Like, you gonna do something with the company and then you gonna start something else big. Like, what even, like, got you thinking like this?
I have had an amazing support system since I was 16. Timothy has been my co-founder and he's done all the things in the background people don't get to see. Yeah. You know what I mean? Shout out to Tim. Throwing up the manufacturing facility. We have a 30,000 square foot facility where we make our own products. Literally an in-house chemist and lab. Kettles. A kettle is a big metal machine where you can mix thousands of units, you know, pumping lines that can do up to 17,000 units a day. Like we literally built the infrastructure and there's no way I would have ever even attempted that if he had not been my co-founder. Also, my early team members, Alex and Rosa and Fred, my exec team, they're like the homies, you know, like, and I'm lucky enough to have went to a really dope high school where I met a bunch of like kids like that, you know, because my chemist went to high school with me also. Wow. You know, but she had like all this experience in contract manufacturing. She's dope. I don't know. And I just think that like when people know you care about them in the community and you're doing right by people, they will come and like be with you, even though sometimes you go to zero and they know that, but they're like, it's all right, Kim got us. She gonna make sure we get paid, you know?
So let's talk about this going to zero though, right? Okay. Because a lot of times, and like through talking to you, I realized that just because you make more money, you're a bigger company doesn't mean you're more profitable. And because it's like this stigma on the internet, right? On the Instagram land where everybody doing 7 figures, but then now it's like 7 figures is not enough, right? And because people are like, well, you're a millionaire, but let's see that P&L. And I'm like, but if you go see a P&L for $100 million company, they're probably not profitable either. So kind of talk to us a little bit about that.
Oh my God. Okay, one, I was a client of it's ghetto. You know what's ghetto? Your bank telling you don't have access to any of the money that you had. What? Are you familiar with the Silicon Valley Bank fallout? So I was a client at Silicon Valley Bank. This year, girl. I still have an account with them, but I was transitioning banks because I didn't want to be there anymore. Yeah. And because I just remember I got a $3 million check last year, and they wouldn't give me like a line of credit. Like they wouldn't give me no money against that money. And I was like, something ain't right about this. Right. And I was just like, but I needed to spend it or whatever. So I was just like, next time I'm going to be a part of a different bank or bigger bank. And then they literally just collapsed. Like,
and so how much money did you have in?
Oh, like 20,000. It wasn't that much, but
run us our money.
But you're right. I was at South by Southwest and I had to use my personal funds because my business cards weren't working. And so
did they tell you like?
No. So when the bank failed, like they had froze all transactions. So they were still collecting deposits though, but they were not letting you like use your money while they figured it out, while they were going to see if the government was going to, bail them out.
Oh, you in the middle of South by Southwest, turning up, hey, bring me that hookah and some shots, trying to give your card.
And it was not working.
You like, I'm not broke.
What is this? What is this?
Right.
What is this? And so I say that, and I use that example to say that, like, if you are an entrepreneur and you doing $1 million, you doing $100K annually, you doing 10 million, 20 million, $1 billion banks also go to zero. So you should never feel shame for that. You should never feel shame. You ain't never played the game if you ain't never took a loss. That was on the TikTok reel I was watching the other day. But I have
Kim,
gone.
TikTok Kim.
Come on. I'm getting there. I'm
Yes.
what the girlies say. No, I'm kidding. Old lady. No, I feel like I've been into, when I crowdfunded, when we launched a crowdfund, we needed the money. And I didn't get the money until like 3 to 4 months later.
Okay.
So that meant that like I had creditors calling. Literally my team, they had some of their personal cell phone numbers like, hey, y'all are, my bad. They literally had some of their personal cell phone numbers like, hey, y'all are behind $20,000 on this bill, $30,000 on this bill, $40,000 on this bill. And, you know, not everybody can deal with that.
No,
right?
and that's it. Like, that's a blow, an ego blow.
It's an ego blow, but it's also like anxiety. And it's like, am I going to get paid this week? Like, what is Kim doing? I trusted her. I don't know. And so I even freaked out. I think I probably like cried like profusely at one point. And like literally if we could just wait 3 months, I was gonna have $4 or $5 million in the bank. Dang. And so it's like, but we were literally negative 30,000 or whatever. You know what I mean? I had to borrow payroll from another founder, $50,000. They were gonna get it back in 30 days, but I had to borrow payroll from somebody else. And I think going to zero really helped me feel like not much can break me. You know, like once you've done it once or twice, it's like, okay, this is the game I'm playing. Yeah. Now you can't be going to zero and not working on something in the background, you know, but yeah, it happens in small business, big business. It's a part of business.
Like, how did your team react to that? Like, because I think that sometimes as a founder or a CEO, sometimes you like, especially when you have a team, like you want to keep that stuff tight. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know sometimes when we go through things as a business, like I don't want to alarm them because I'm going to figure it out. You know what I mean? But like the fact that, you know, I'm pretty sure like you tried to keep it and then it just kind of exploded. And I've been in a place where they didn't react that well. You know what I'm saying? I actually had a accountant that she used to freak out. She was like, the bills is due. I'm like, man, I gotta launch tomorrow. Like, I can't. You're freaking me out. Like, you gotta calm down. Like, so that's a lot of anxiety and added pressure. So how did they even react and how did they even stay with you?
Bro, okay. So that first time we were going to zero, I had about 3 executives of the 5 or 6 on my team quit within 3 months.
So they quit because of the pressure.
One of them quit because of the pressure. Another one quit because she wanted to be an entrepreneur, which sometimes happens if you have people who are close to...
She quit to be an entrepreneur after she seen...
Look. But I love her. She gave me 3 months notice. Like, she worked for me. She worked at Kermix for 2 years. Yes. Like, she helped launch 4C Only. She has equity. Okay. Like, I don't shame... Like, you know, I don't own anybody.
Do it. I was just thinking in my head, like, there's no way that I'll be like, she broke. And I'm...
Monrae.
Nah, I don't want that life.
I don't want that life.
My check.
Exactly. No, yeah. So she became an entrepreneur. The other one freaked out. Like, she was just like, I can't. She literally quit in the middle of the crowdfund, which having your CFO quit in the middle of any kind of public offering is usually like a crazy taboo thing. Yeah. But luckily I brought in Ephraim's team, EFS.
Shout out to
I will forever sing their praises, okay? Yes. They helped clean up my accounting. They also helped me pass this audit. And my books have been spot on since that day.
Wow.
I've gotten compliments from investors like, who did your financials? Like, they look so beautiful. I can understand everything that I'm reading. And you get them so quickly and da-da-da. I'm like, EFS. But they saved me. So that's why I ended up passing the audit, even though she quit 2 weeks before the signature. Like, we had went through almost the audit. We had went through the cleanup. And, but what I also learned is that I could have been a better leader. I put too much on them. And so you asked me, do I tell my team when things are tight?
Yeah.
I think how you were raised really affects how you run a company.
Yeah.
So my mom was the kind of mom was like, look, we ain't got it, you know? Like one of my coaches was like, you know, Kim, if you're losing the house, you don't tell your kids you're losing the house, you tell them you're downsizing. I was like, nah. I tell them I'm losing the house. No, but and honestly, like as a leader, I had to learn there's a better way to deliver those kinds of messages.
Yeah.
And so my EA actually, chief of staff really, she said that she feels like I share too much. I overshare, and she doesn't like if I tell the team that we had a tax bill from California for $80,000, you know?
Because they can't take it.
Exactly. But I'm just like, money's not real.
Yeah.
Like, these are numbers on a digital piece of like, on a digital platform, like, you know, so like, okay, we don't got it. How do we get it? You know, like, that's usually where my mind goes. And they're like, well, we don't got it. What are we going to do? And it's just like, you know, so but my chief of staff has also she's seen me go to zero twice and come back from it and literally have millions to account the next day. And so she's like, okay, I believe in you now, Kim, but I've had to help her manage her stress. So there's a couple of things. I had to be a better leader in delivering news. Okay. I also had to learn how to watch my books better and budget better. But then I also have to get my team to understand the risks that we are all taking and all playing in. And that like, this is not the secure comfort corporate job that you're used to. But that's because it also has a bigger reward. Right. You don't have equity at Deloitte. You know what I mean? Right. But you're probably gonna get paid every 2 weeks. It's gonna be the same. It's not gonna go up crazy. It's gonna be your same 70K. Right. Okay. But if you work at Curlmix, you might make 70 to 90 for a while. It's not gonna go up, but hey, if there's an event, a liquidity event at the end of this, you know, you might be a millionaire.
So they have equity in the company?
My exec team, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And my chief of staff, because they literally could run their own $1 million businesses. And the only way I can keep them is by making sure that they benefit from the outcome. But also, I also got this lesson from an entrepreneur who sold his company for like, I don't know, $80+ million. He was saying that from 0 to 20 million is life-changing money. 20 to 40 million, because he was saying like you might buy a different house, right? From 0 to 20 million, you might have a different car. 20 to 40 million, you might have an even better house and an even better car. But he's like, after 40 million, anything up to 100 million is ego. Because you're not going to know how to spend that money. Right. Like if you ever sat down and tried to figure out how to spend $10 million, most of it is just investments. Right. It's like, okay, you bought your $1 million house, $2 million house, and you bought the nice car, then what? And it's like, oh, I'm going to invest it in this over here, and I'm going to invest it in this project and this project. To do what? To make more money? Yeah. I was like, this is a scam. Yes. This is a scam. I should be living. So for me, it's just like, I just want my team to be millionaires with me, you know?
I love it.
What good is first class if the homies can't sit?
Come on. Come on. No, I love that. And so your thought process with the company is do you plan on selling?
So I raised $4.5 million from 7,000 customers.
Okay.
They want their money back. And they want a return. Yeah. I cannot be like, I took y'all money, I'm gonna go on and build my shrine to myself for the next 50 years and you've lost this $4.5 million. No, I want them to get a return on their money. So at some point, I do expect there to either be an IPO or a sale. So that I can return their investment to them.
And I love that it's like them first. Like you're not even thinking about, because the reason why I say that is because a lot of times Black women get a lot of slack for selling their companies. So are you afraid of that? Like, are you afraid of that backlash? I think that your sale is very people oriented. So you would probably do a lot of press and a lot of, education on like why I'm doing it. But are you afraid of the backlash that you possibly could get from selling?
People think that generational wealth is built because you build a business, and it is not. It is built when you sell a business. And so for me, as long as the reason that Black women get backlash from selling these companies is because they built it on the backs of Black people, but they get nothing in the sale. Like if I've been buying your products for years, I didn't spend thousands of dollars with you. You sell your company and I don't get nothing. Then I feel like you kind of stole something from me. Exactly. I feel slighted. But if I've been buying your product for thousands of years, I spent $1,000 on your company or thousands. I've been buying it for years and I own a small piece of the equity in the company. And so when it sells, I make $5,000 or $10,000. Now I'm celebrating you. Go ahead, girl. Do your thing.
I like that. Right. Like, and now I'm happy for you.
Exactly.
Because I also we're selfish.
Everybody's self-interested. That's the game.
Thinking about it, like, people are really, humans are selfish, right? But now I'm thinking about like so I don't know if this could actually work, but you know, my entrepreneur brain, like I was like, oh, could it be where if you had a product-based company, when anytime somebody bought a product, they could get maybe like a piece of equity?
Yes, but the thing is, if you do one of those offerings, so you could use like a WeFunder, which is what we used, or Start Engine. They have time windows.
Gotcha.
So you can't they can't leave the offering open forever. Now they can make new offerings every year,
right?
But that's a lot of work.
Right.
Because then you have to do audits and all these other things. So they can do it for a period of time and then close it. So, but yes, you could do that.
Because my thought is like, okay, so now can we start thinking about it differently? Like about, you know, how can we serve the clients once we do leave? Because I truly feel like the goal is to sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you should sell your companies and you should start by trying to think about that, right? But how can we not as Black, because I don't think Black men get this backlash. I don't think white men get this back. I really think it's just like Black, like it's like a mama thing. Like, Mom, you sold our house. Like, how, you know what I'm saying? Like, people just really don't like it. And I think it's a lot of and I think her name is Nicole. She wrote a post about people don't talk about, she had a brand, Hello Nicole, and she sold it, and she said people don't talk about the other side of it as the CEO or the founder that sold the company, the heartbreak that actually comes with it, you know? And I was like, dang, you know, we did not think about that, you know? And there's not a lot of people that you can even like talk to about this, you know?
I ask founders who have big exits all the time if they were depressed after. That's like my number one question.
Yeah.
How are the golden handcuffs? Because they typically have to stay there for a few years and they probably don't want to.
Yeah.
Were you depressed? And how'd your customers respond? That's always my ask. I do feel like cancel culture is real. And, you know, people want to help you ride the wave there. And then when you get there, ride the wave, you know, ride the clip. And then when you get there, they're just kind of like, you're not one of us anymore.
Right.
You've achieved a level of success that's too far and above. And I do think that people criticize Black women more. And sometimes it can even be us criticizing ourselves too much,
true.
you know? The why, I don't know. I mean, everything is self-interested at the end of the day, right? So it's probably something to do with self.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How I view myself, if I want that same thing from you. But to me, I think too, a lot of people don't bring people with them. And that is also part of the problem. It's like, okay, you made it out scot-free, but like you didn't bring nobody with you. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And I think when people bring other people with them, they don't have that problem. Now, what I will say is no one's really done that in the hair care space. They haven't, you know what I mean? Given everybody equity and, you know, everybody, you made a bunch of millionaires when you, because here's what happened, right? Black people are the largest employers of Black people. So if more of us are millionaires and building businesses, and say my exec team, the 6 of us, we go out and we're all millionaires, and now they can start several businesses where they're going to employ Black people.
Right.
And it's like, how many jobs did we create from that exit, right? Like we'll probably create another 100, 200, 300 jobs from the liquidity event that could be, you know? So I think people don't think that way.
No.
Most people are not operating that way. And so then you get the backlash.
Are you one of the only founders that have crowdfunded in the hair care space?
Yes. Or the largest. And there are people who came after us.
First of all, Kim, take your flowers. Like, I just got mad. Oh. I've never heard you say that.
I'm working on my PR, okay? I'm working on it.
Put it in the bio. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but no, that's amazing. And even just to hear the story and the why behind it, you know what I'm saying? Like, really, I think some people are listening to this and like, okay, I'm ready to invest. They're like, you're going to get some checks. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you, Monrae. I appreciate that.
I'm excited about what you're about to accomplish because, like I said, this is just your first life, right? Like, this is the first business of, because I've heard you say, like, you want to be the Procter Gamble of hair care, right?
Yeah.
And so I know that this is just like the first season of this. So before we go, we always have a segment, and I have a question, and I think the people want to know, right? Because being a CEO is very much ghetto. It's ghetto, but I don't think that we would trade it for the world, right? A lot of us even started on the other side, and we chose this life. But we're here now, but my question to you is like, what is the worst advice you have received as a CEO?
The worst advice. Oh, not to give my team equity. People tell me, you're too generous. You should not. That is, why would you do that? And they were just, I remember trying to give my executive team equity, and then they were like, I was like, I want to give them like a whole percent. She was like, that's a bit rich. You should do 0.25. And I was like, but this person has literally been working here for so many years, and they've literally done X, Y, and Z. Or like my chemist, we can't make any formulas without her. Right, you know what I mean? Right. And they're like, she could work somewhere else and she wouldn't get anything. And I was just like, right. But I can't go to sleep like that. Yeah. So that was like people tell me not to do the things, and I just like, no, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do it anyway,
I love that. And like I said, keeping the people first. Mm-hmm. Listen, y'all, this has been a good episode. Kim, how can they stay connected to you, and what advice would you give to a CEO that's like, this is ghetto, I'm about to stop, I don't want to do this anymore? What advice would you give them?
I think there are people who are natural entrepreneurs. I think there are people who are not. Mm-hmm. And I think if you started and you've been doing it for a while, you are a natural entrepreneur, and you can will yourself to success. Yeah. I truly believe that. I feel like that is my story. Iterate. You can find me at KimLewisCEO.com and on Instagram and on TikTok.
Yes. And what would you say to the person that's like at zero right now?
Go take a walk, sit in some sun, and think about your next move. You are a plant. You need sun, water, and food. And when I was at zero, I didn't feel like I was at zero. And you don't have to feel like you're at zero just because you're at zero. You do not. And so find some joy and then figure out how to get your money back.
I love that. Y'all, that is the Kim Lewis. Okay. Y'all, thank y'all for listening to this episode of the Ghetto CEO Podcast. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Also, make sure you leave us a rating in all the podcasts. Like, go to all of them. Apple, Spotify, go to all of them, right? And comment there and just let them know. Leave a review so they can know how amazing this show is. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.